Welcome to another edition of the Willy Bragg Show. It is June the 24th, 2023. It is what is called the Saturday Night Feature, whereby the Willy Bragg Show and the Kerberos News Group, otherwise known as KRTD Media, work in partnership to promote each other in social media. And you know, what the objective is basically this: by working together, independent media content makers working together, promoting each other, we can beat the algorithm suppression and the shadow banning being done by various elements in social media. So that's I always like to go and mention that, because I want to plant the seeds in people's mind what's been going on in the last few years. It ain't 2012 anymore, folks. So right now, this month and during the month of June, I've been doing what was basically a dedication to Pride Month. And the reason I have decided to do this on my own, I was just like, well, it's been like a turn back in time. I felt like there's been like a time warp back to the 1980s, you know, with the religious right and the whole intolerant attitudes, where Ronald Reagan would not even mention the word AIDS. I believe he would not even mention it in public until like 1987. And that even if you had gotten AIDS, not even through sexual contact, but through a blood transfusion or whatever other means, you know, that the culture war, they still found a way to blame you for this. And you know, and that's you know, that it was just a very horrible, intolerant attitude, and to go and there was like a license to harass people on the basis of who they are, and to me, it's an open and shut case. Equality is key. Equality is not a special right. They try to make it sound like they want special rights. The LGBTQ wants what the rest of the population wants: equality. They want to be left alone. They want to live their lives, and that is all they want to do. And for some reason, that's considered woke by the right wing in this country. Not every right winger. Some conservatives have actually grown on the issue. They have actually evolved, but some of them decided to go and take a turn back. I tell you, I thought it was some things were settled issues by 2018, 2019. It was like, well, you don't really hear much about this sort of thing anymore. But they started doing it again, and they've been hyping it up with grooming, conspiracy theories, and all this sort of thing. Ironically, you watch Fox News, and that's like every hour they seem to talk about grooming. Yet, within even Fox itself, they celebrate Pride Month. Try figuring that out. So anyway, I want to make a quick announcement, a couple of quick announcements here. Be sure to watch the Secret Show, which comes on at midnight every Saturday night. Uncle Warren, Miss Jimmy Sutherland, they both co-host together every Saturday night. And I will be guest this evening on the Secret Show. I just wanted to let you all know that. So you stick around, you'll be seeing a whole lot of me. Also, I will be a guest on the JB Font Show, James Fauntleroy, who's also one of the co-hosts of Revolutionary Blackout Network. So that's quite exciting, and that's going to be at 2 p.m. Tuesday afternoon, this coming Tuesday. So I'm looking also forward to that as well. So anyway, as I said, I decided to do this on my own by interviewing people I have known either in person or known online over the last few years. And pretty much everybody I've interviewed this past months, I have known mostly online. Three of them I met in person, but the two, let's see, hold on. No, two of them I met in person, and three I have not met yet. So, but anyhow, so anyway, I decided for Saturday night. I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this for KRTD Media. So, just like KRTD Media, this is a dedication to KRTD Media, because KRTD Media is a progressive network, and part of their progressive values is to be for human rights, and that's and support of the LGBTQ community is in good keeping of what is called human rights. So let's get started on the first person that I interviewed, and that is Catherine Ann McCloskey. I interviewed her in the very beginning of this month, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and play an excerpt from the interview, and in doing so, I'll go and make some comments about what was said in the interview. Give me a couple of moments here. Okay. And there should be a sound. I make sure there's going to be a sound. I'll explain to y'all about the audio hell I'm going through on my computer. So let me fix this. This should work. Okay. Y'all let me know how the sound is. Okay. Hold on. And let's talk about since we're on the subject of the Socialist Party right now, let's talk about the late David McReynolds, because I think we need to talk about him, considering it is Pride Month, and I think that he sort of, as a gay man, he sort of made history too, being a Socialist Party member and a gay man making history in 1980.
Yeah, first openly gay person to run for president.
Yeah, that's correct.
And the only presidential candidate I ever voted for twice.
I voted for him once in the year 2000, and when the Socialist Party were organizing to get him on the ballot. Back then, it was a write-in. It was the first time the Socialist Party, since the days of Norman Thomas, was able to be on the ballot in North Carolina. So we were very proud of that fact.
Yeah, yes. You did a lot of good work.
Yes.
Yes. You, plural, and you personally.
So well, I mean, I don't get the entire credit. I mean, Vernon Kelly and Catherine Icewander and about a dozen other people also get credit for this. This was definitely a collective effort, and we did have a nice presence in North Carolina while it did last. It so
it was a true flagship chapter of the SPUSA.
Yes.
And, I said you plural and you personally.
Yes, absolutely.
I recognize the hard work your comrades put in.
Yeah, and I look back, and I got burned out. back then, but eventually, I mean, now I'm looking back, and I'm looking back at some of the mistakes that I made from that time period, and what could have been done, and in light of what happened in the mid 2000s and all of that, of course. For me, I was going through a lot of personal shit at the time, so I got very burned out.
Yeah. I took a rest from politics for about 6 years.
Yeah, I took, I verbally talked politics, but I got burnt out, as far as, I just got in too many sectarian fights, and that's just what killed me. So, but it suffice to say, but David, also always had a story to share, and he likewise seemed to have known just about every damn body.
He did know everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, that the Socialist Party USA pushed him out and accused him of being a racist.
And one of the most ridiculous accusations ever.
They might as well have accused him of being a homophobe.
Absolutely, yeah. Over what happened in Paris, I mean, that was just ridiculous. What happened with Charlie Hebdo. I mean, and to be more concerned, it was just kind of like they censure him. I'm like, how the fuck can you censor? Call him an anti. They basically accuse him of anti-Arab racism. Here's a man that fought for Palestinian rights, and a man that that's been involved with a lot of Middle Eastern politics, as far as trying to put a stop to, in his own way, to a lot of this Middle Eastern wars that's been going on and being pushed by the United States.
Well, David was a professional pacifist.
Yes, he was
field secretary of the War Resisters League, and for a while he was the international chairman of the War Resisters League. And yes, he very much worked for a peaceful settlement in Palestine, Israel. They also accused him of being a racist because they said that he accused Michael Brown of being thuggish.
I remember that. And the thing about it is, the man, look at the age he's in. I'm not trying to be ageist, but, I mean, the man is, he was a beatnik in the 1950s that never outgrown being a beatnik.
Yep.
And I remember over the years talking to David. I was a smoker back then, and he used to kind of gently rag on me about it. He's like, that when you smoke, when you pick up your cigarettes and you buy a pack of cigarettes, you're actually giving money to people like Jesse Helms. I suggest that you smoke marijuana. And he would just he was telling people, smoke marijuana. It's bad. He didn't call it pot. He called it by its proper name. And when he talked about talk about himself being gay, he never said he was gay. He called himself a homosexual. I mean, he used the proper term. It's like, this is so 1950s, David.
Yes. David came out of that 1950s milieu and into the peace milieu in New York City.
Yes.
I'm very proud to have known the man.
I probably should put up that very famous 1965 photo that a lot of people associate with in the 1960s. 1965 Madison Square Garden. And you know that photo. Madison Square Garden. Okay, hold on a second. Here. Okay, if I can find it. Well, I guess that's probably going to be the best we can find here. But we'll use this one. The man in the middle, right? Oh, that's pictures too. That's what I don't like about StreamYard sometimes. Let me see if I can find a better one. Let me see if I can find a photo that's a little bit better than that one. Let's see. Same photo. Oh, well, actually, let's try this one. This should work. Hopefully.
Here's David.
Yeah.
He's a very tall man.
Yeah. Oh my. Hold on a second. Why is that not working? Image. I keep downloading the damn thing. Hold on a second. Oh, why do I keep downloading? Okay, hold on. I'm going to find. If I don't, we're going to go back to that original photo.
What was that, Norman Thomas's celebration?
What now?
The photo that she had up, was that of the?
No. That was the '65 photo in Madison Square Garden in 1965.
Why were they in Madison Square Garden? I guess is my question.
Where he's burning, they're burning the draft cards.
Ah, the famous draft card burning. Yes.
Yes.
And David was too old to have been draft age, but still, he faced the same penalties everybody else did.
Yep.
For burning his draft card.
Yep, and as I said, and again, here's this is a famous piece of history of the 1960s, and the average person, even people who are well versed in 1960s history, is even 1960s leftism. Sadly, a lot of people would not recognize one of the peace activists up there was David McReynolds. That's kind of a crying shame.
It truly is. David's another person who doesn't get the recognition that he should get.
Exactly.
Yeah. And by the way, he always went by David, never Dave.
Yeah. Did I say Dave?
No, you didn't.
Oh, okay. I thought I did.
We keep saying David, and I was thinking somebody might wonder, why don't you ever call him Dave? Or if he was such a good friend, why aren't you on better terms with him? He preferred David.
Yeah, I think I've always called him David. Yeah, David. Yeah. But anyway, getting back to, oh boy, I almost made a mistake. Okay, hold on a second here. Let me go ahead and let me do this, and we'll get back to okay, right there. I'm sorry. Trying to maneuver everything here. Okay, so I guess let's talk about Catty Ann, and let's talk about let's talk about your experience, in your life and everything, if that's okay.
That's fine.
Yeah, okay. And tell us about yourself and what it's like, and what can be done to protect the gains and to prevent a backlash.
Oh, I don't know that I know the answer to that one. My first job out of college was working for the United Farm Workers of America, and learned a lot about organizing there. And then I went into academia for a while, got my doctorate, taught. And then I went to work for the United Automobile Workers, where I put what I knew about organizing to work. And of course, the UAW was at the time the most progressive union in the United States and the most left union. The UAW had pretty much financed the 1963 March on Washington. So I really felt at home there. I was in a car accident that prevented me from continuing to organize. And I met a young man who was transitioning from female to male, and I realized I needed to transition in the opposite direction. And I'm much happier. And it really scares me that anyone would want to force me back into the closet or take away my medical care. What about small government?
I've always wondered about that. The people who claim to care about liberty.
When we care about liberty, we care about small government. We want to drown the government in a bathtub. Yeah, except for having state troopers running around Tennessee looking for drag queens. I kid you not, there's a law in Tennessee that drag queens can't appear in public. So state troopers are looking to try to find them, like going from their car to the place they're performing.
You know what's so weird is it almost seems like it's more dangerous to go do drag shows now than it was 35, 40 years ago, which is
much
crazy.
more dangerous.
Yeah, during the age of what I remember about homophobia being a thing. I mean, and I tell young people, how things were back in the 80s, and maybe it's because I lived in a small town, but as I said, it was a very very unenlightened environment, and you don't have to be a member of the LGBTQ community to realize this, when sometimes you could be a quote unquote straight cisgender individual, and people could make assumptions about you that are not true. And as I said, which that's happened to me. People thought that was what I was all about when I wasn't, and never was. But that had a lot to do with my mind being open, because it's like, you want to attack me for something that I'm not. And I decided, well, hell, I'm going to start defending. Well, back then I said I'm going to start defending gay, lesbian rights. Now I know I broadened that tent, LGBTQ plus. But I'm going to just start defending out of my pro-egalitarian principles that I've always had.
You've been a great ally.
I tried to be.
You really have been a great ally. And what scares me is almost the triangulation of attacks on the trans community. You've got the right-wing gas bags like Tucker Carlson.
And there's more to this interview. Hold on a second here. Hold on. Let me do this. Okay. All right. Okay. I'm back. Okay. Yeah, there's more to that interview, but that's Catty Ann McCloskey, and he's kind of a well-known activist herself. She's met a lot of famous people in her day, just like David did in his day, and so she's a real fighter, and all that, and I appreciate the activism she's done in over the years. So anyway, that was the first person I interviewed this month. The next person I decided to interview was Tommy Salisbury from Tommy Nation Politics. Give me a moment here. We'll get everything set up. All right, hold on a second. I think some of y'all know who he is. So, all right. And I've been on his show quite a few times, and he's been a reoccurring guest on my show. Real good guy. So he and I had a conversation. So we'll play that conversation. Give me a second here.
Of investigating them, they'll be like, fuck it. That's what Hillary Clinton did. But yeah, so I think Joe Biden is going to be reelected. He's going to die in his second term, and then we're going to have Kamala, and we won't even have voted for her, because Wall Street, the banks, the industrial complex, they know that we won't ever vote for Kamala, never, unless we're at war and it's like a gun to the head, right? Gun to the head, we'll vote for her. So they'll try to come up with some kind of scenario where that happens, bro, for second. But at first they're going to push it on her. That's what Tulsi Gabbard said, actually. I think it's actually true. She actually said this on Sean Hannity, which doesn't give her a lot of credibility. But I really think that the theory is actually accurate. I really do.
I'm not so sure that Donald is going to be a shoe-in for Donald Trump to get the nomination.
I don't think so. Yeah. So you think DeSantis now?
I heard what Russell Dobler said on generational change a couple of months ago. That the Russell from Due Dissidence.
Yeah.
He said, you know, Jen Perlman, right?
Who?
Jen Perlman from Florida.
I don't know Jen Perlman. No.
Yeah, he has a show called Generational Change. Anyway, they were the guests on Generational Change, and he said basically that there's no way that the Republican establishment will allow Donald Trump to get that nomination again. They will set him up with a hooker somewhere to make him look bad, or they'll whack them. They'll do whatever, you know. They're going to do what they can to make sure that embarrassment is not going to be their representative. And if you look at Fox, they kind of dumped Trump, and they're basically on the DeSantis bandwagon. And I think that DeSantis, a lot of people say that Trump is just going to run over DeSantis, who's Trump's biggest obstacle in 2024 in the primaries. But I'm not so sure it's going to be that much of a shoe-in for Trump to get the nomination.
Well, I think this is one of those culture warrior moments where, like, you fire the phasers at Trump and he seems to get bigger. So everything the establishment is going to do to Trump, which I agree with you, they will, is going to probably backfire a lot of it. And probably make his dunderheaded followers even more in love with him. Oh God, he makes all the people that I hate, you know, upset. So right. So if Nicole Wallace from MSNBC, who is a Bush person, fucking tries to talk about Donald Trump, they're just going to be like, well, we hate George W. Bush, right? So it might actually backfire. But this is one of those things where it's like DeSantis is actually standing up to gay rights, right? So they could turn around and just be like, well, this guy actually helps get things done when it comes to the curtailing of civil liberties, when it comes to, you know, making people less than marginalizing groups, when it comes to cutting social safety nets, when it comes to making sure that people can murder on the streets in Florida African-American men like George Zimmerman, you know? Like, DeSantis is a dream come true for George Zimmerman. People like that.
Yeah, he's a dystopian of Florida. That's what he is. I mean, you know, and you know, when I saw Dave Rubin the other day endorsing him, I'm just like, wow, he hates your very existence, Dave. How in the hell can you just look at yourself in the mirror?
Because they have dinner. They have dinner together. Oh, he doesn't say anything about me being gay. He just looks at me and says, "How was your day, Dave?" That's what Dave thinks. Dave is such a out of touch. I mean, the white privilege, oh my God, to the millionth power. I don't understand how it even happened. Like, I've never seen a white person as white privileged as Dave Rubin.
Well, I mean, he's a millionaire. I mean, I guess that grifting did pay off. I mean, I guess he just must train himself to have no self-respect. When he's going to Liberty University and saying that people at Liberty University are more open-minded than liberals are about his being gay or something.
No, they just don't say anything, Dave. They just don't say anything. They're not any more open-minded. They just hate you inside their heads. That's all. That's the only difference.
It's their new PR. I mean, you know, yeah. 35, 40 years ago, they'll be like, "Get the hell off of my campus," you know. But now, they would. I hate to quote Rachel Maddow, but here's an example of right-wing cancel culture for you. I found out. I was watching. As I said, I hate to talk about Rachel Maddow in a positive way because she's positive.
I'll look at it sometime. She used to put me to bed with her stories. She's a great storyteller. I didn't find out they were lies until a while.
But I did agree with her with this story. She did a report on Liberty University, and if this would have happened on a liberal campus to a conservative group or a Christian group, you would never hear the end of it from the right wing. But apparently, the college Democrats and the ACLU chapter at Liberty University was basically banned off the campus. that it was absolutely just banned off the campus and it wouldn't be recognized by the university. And I'm just thinking to myself, can you imagine if I'm trying to think of a liberal, progressive college. Can you imagine if Berkeley or imagine if Harvard or in North Carolina, UNC Chapel Hill or something like that says the Tea Party and the college Republicans are not welcome on this campus. You never hear the end of it from the right wing.
No, you don't ever hear about the end of anything from the right wing. You don't hear about Let's Go Brandon. They're still saying Let's Go Brandon after like almost 4 years now. Like they never let anything go. So they're crybaby bitch beta cucks. So, but yeah, you're right.
They're the biggest victim around. I mean, they are. And sometimes I feel it's redundant to attack the right wing, but I feel like if they are not challenged, it makes it easier for them to win their victories because it's always they draw the line in the sand and somehow they win in the public relations and a lot of things go unchallenged and there's a lot of people in the middle who are not necessarily bad people who buys into the propaganda.
Yeah. I think really we got to stop being reasonable with these guys, and I agree with what you're saying, is that we have to challenge them. Let me tell you, they really are, especially right now, they're really violence is occurring. Violence is occurring with them. They're hurting people. They're tracking down drag queens. Have you seen those things? They're going to clubs.
Some states that they have banned.
They're doing violence, so we have to challenge them. Like,
I mean, I think there was more tolerance for drag queens in the 1950s than there are today.
Yeah.
That's weird.
It is weird.
Yeah. I mean, and Drag Queen Story Hour. Here's the thing about Drag Queen Story Hour. If a drag queen is not dressing nude or dressing in an S&M bondage thing, I mean, if every drag story hour I have seen, they kind of kept it classy. I mean, there's nothing even overtly sexual about it, and and it's usually voluntary. If the parents would be like, I don't know, or the parents would be like, who cares, and I don't know. I just don't think that's, I just think that somebody's looking for a culture war where there's no culture war to be found.
I mean, again, they have found their culture war. They've always hated us from the beginning of time. And so this is just their continuing war. It's not really a culture war. It's more of just like, hey, I think you're freaks and I think I'm better than you. And there's a hint of white supremacy to it. War with us as gays. Like I said, this is how Stonewall happened. So again, this is how backlashes always occur. Everybody's talking about how this is a backlash from women, trans men or trans women in sports. And what do you think about that, Willie? This is a backlash from trans women in sports. This whole drag queen story hour.
No, yeah, as I said, it's just everything out there, and I I'm just fearful of the deaths that and just the lives that are going to be in danger over this atmosphere of hatred that's growing right now. And I mean, I'm not saying that if people have a reactionary or a fuddy-duddy opinion that they're not allowed to have it. I'm not saying that. Well, I'm talking about how they're scapegoated and targeted to a point where basically they're just short of saying, attack these people. That's basically this is what I get from Matt Walsh or someone like Matt Walsh or Michael Knowles, and they're basically made for a millennial group of reactionaries, some Generation X and some boomers, to have it so where it doesn't look so reactionary. They don't look like some crazy fundamentalist preacher or something like that from the like a TV evangelist from the 1980s. This is the same damn thing.
Yeah, I mean, there was a television evangelist from the 1980s. His name was Billy Graham, and he used to talk about loving your neighbor as yourself. I wish they would have followed that televangelist. Whatever happened to Billy Graham, bro? Whatever happened to that guy? Franklin Graham, not so good.
No, he's got the religious right. Billy Graham was he might have been conservative, but the thing about Billy Graham was he never politicized it, and he was never partisan. He was, in fact, the religious right denounced him when he was at some event with Bill Clinton in 1993, because apparently, they hated Bill Clinton for the wrong reasons, by the way. But apparently, doing anything with a Democrat, and there's a lot to be said about Democrats. I hate both parties. Both parties are garbage. It's the reason why we have a culture war. The thing about it is that both parties, they'll have it so where anything related to a Democrat is like Satan itself. They're at that level.
Oh yeah. I mean, they do. They talk about Satan all the time. It's hilarious. There's some kind of statue, and it looks like Satan, and it's got boobs. What is this? I mean, it's all about, I don't understand. It's all about how everything needs to stay with their Christian Sharia law. Except, you know what's funny, though? You talk about pastors and stuff like that. You talk about Christianity. Like Jesus himself. Like, if Jesus was here, what would he say? That's what I always think about. Jesus never ever denounced anybody but the tax people in the temple. The people that were cheating people at the temple. People like Wall Street, the banks and military industrial complex. Jesus said, "Get out! You created a den of thieves in my Father's house." He literally said, "Loving the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and body, and then love your neighbor as yourself." That's the second greatest commandment, Nicodemus. So I think that they would literally have a rude awakening if they met Jesus Christ personally, these right wingers, because he literally would tell them, "Why are you even claiming to be Christians? You don't follow me at all. We have nothing in common. I'm trying to feed people. I'm trying to feed the 5,000. You're trying to take away welfare. Okay? I'm trying to walk on the water so I can connect with my disciples. You're trying to marginalize groups. You're trying to take away rights." Jesus has nothing to do with these people. So it's ironic that they call themselves Christians.
Basically, Jesus. The concept of Jesus, or Jesus as a real person, not necessarily as a deistic being. If you wanted to separate the two, what was he? He was a brown-skinned Palestinian-born Jew who was probably the first socialist revolutionary. Yeah. But
it's all just a conglomeration of, I don't know, white supremacy, imbecility, fascism. It's just really encompassed the right wing. I really asked them. Nancy Pelosi always said we need a good working Republican Party, right? She loves how she needs to a strong Republican Party. But I encourage the right wing to just be not. I just encourage y'all to just if you don't want government overreach, we need that. If you want to strengthen people's liberties, we need that. I wish we were the right wing. I need a strong right wing. We need a strong right wing, not a sick, fascist, beta cuck right wing. You guys are out of your minds. You guys really need to get back to your I don't know, your true principles and values, what you claim they are. I don't know.
The way I see it is, I don't have a problem with conservatives running for office and getting elected. I just wish they'd be normal like they are in some other countries. When I look at other countries, Angela Merkel of Germany was to the left of, she as a Christian Democrat, which is their conservative party. She governed to the left of Obama. Boris Johnson. Even Boris Johnson governed to the left of Joe Biden. That's where that's where the Overton window is in the United States.
Yeah. So you think that's the problem, or the problem is that we've just become so polarized that we're divided because of the Democrats and Republicans? They have to get us to divide to vote for them. So
it's a two-party system. It's a two-party system. I think that because of the two-party system. And I think that somehow we just didn't end up getting the goodies that the other countries ended up getting, like the universal health care and the strong labor movement. And I think, honestly, that an absence of some kind of a workers' party, like some kind of a labor party, is the reason why, we can't have nice things. I mean, in the country. And I think that that's at the nucleus of what we need. I think we need a strong, labor party that could take on both Democrats and Republicans. I'm not saying it has to be called that, a labor party, but something of that nature. And I see that at least with Cornel West running, making his announcement for the presidency. And I do endorse Cornel West. He's the man I'm planning to vote for next year.
I think that's a good vote. That's a good vote, Willie. I think maybe I'll vote for him if I vote at all. He's not going to win, but hopefully he puts some pressure on Joe Biden to do something left. And I hope that he speaks to people, because Colonel West has a way of speaking to people where it touches their souls. So I think that hearing him campaign in any way is going to be good for America and good for our soul. I think he could restore the soul of this country. So I definitely endorse that.
Yeah. I mean, he's got all the policies that I've always supported and everything, and I do think he's ultimately a good person. But unlike Bernie, he won't back down. I mean, and
I hope he's ready. I hope he's ready to not be ever on MSNBC ever again. I hope he's ready for that. I hope he's ready to never be on MSNBC again. I hope he's ready to never be mentioned by Rachel Maddow. In fact, Rachel Maddow is going to tie him to Hitler. I hope that he's ready for all of this that's coming.
He'll be shunned. He's going to be the next Ralph Nader, the next Glenn Greenwald, the next Jimmy Dore combined for what he's doing right now. This is my place.
Yeah, the Democrats have nothing. They have a dementia-riddled old man who's a right-winger. He's a right-wing neocon who's sending 700 troops to the border on a daily basis, bashing skulls of immigrants. And he's forsaken student loan debt, and he's damaged badly all reputations of African Americans with his crime bill. Because even after he took out, he did that amnesty for marijuana, there's still criminal records that haven't been expunged. So this guy is literally destroyed. He's destroyed leftism, Joe Biden, and that's why he's the president. Because that was his reward to this neocon. And so the Democrats are in full-fledged revelation. They've revealed themselves to be neocons.
Yeah, and there's more to that. I just wanted to touch on that. And as I said, let me do this real quick here. Okay. Yep. And as I said, Tommy comes on the show occasionally, and usually I'm a guest on his show, along with his co-host Jamal Jabari, and also Jamar Jabari's got a podcast that I highly recommend. I've been a guest on his podcast several times, and he's actually been a guest on my show. So I highly recommend supporting their work. So. But anyway, that was the second person I talked to for Pride Month. The next person I talked to was a young American woman. She's from Chicago, but she now lives in Ireland. And her name is Angie Moon. And let me get everything set up over here. And I met Angie last year on Twitter, and I mean she's really a cool person. I like what she has to say, and she's one hell of a dresser. She's got a very unusual fashion sense. So anyhow. I'll let y'all listen to the conversation we had when she was on my show somewhat recently. There we go. Orlando, and my Miami at the airport, and I guess that doesn't count.
Yeah.
So but I know that like Dave Rubin recently just endorsed Ron DeSantis for president.
Oh God, talk about self-hating.
Yeah, it's I don't know how to feel about Dave Rubin. I mean, it's like, I saw him on the Rubin Report years ago having Ben Shapiro on the show, and he was supposedly this open-minded liberal that ended up agreeing with the right wing and saying, "Oh, well, everybody on my side, the liberals are all terrible people, but I agree with everything you say, all you conservatives." And then he's sitting there and say, "Well, maybe you can, maybe since we're friends, maybe you can come out, hang out, come to something, hanging out, or come to some event with the family or something like that." And Ben Shapiro basically told him he can't do it because of who he's married to. And I'm just like, damn, he just sat there and insulted Dave Rubin right in his face, I mean.
Talk about being a doormat. Like, that is a doormat behavior if I've ever seen it.
And at Liberty University, I mean, he says that he was treated better by people at Liberty University than he ever been treated by liberals. Yeah, because you're self-hating, Dave Rubin. That they love that about you. I mean, and when the people who are on the left who hates Dave Rubin, they certainly don't hate him for who he sleeps with. I mean,
they hate him for his views. Like, they hate him for the right reasons.
Yeah, they when he decided to adopt, I guess, 2 sons, he and his husband, the right wing went nuts. They went nuts. I mean, there was one conservative, and I can't think of her name, one conservative who she worked closely with. She was the only one that was like kind of like, congratulations. And she was like really, really nice about it and everything. And she got the hateful tweets. I mean, she was on Twitter, and I can't think of her name, but they really let her have it. But the rest of the right wing.
Dave Rubin is a name I don't think much about because he blocked me ages ago. Like, he blocks people just for no reason. So, like, I've been blocked by him for years, and I haven't, like, gotten a new Twitter account or anything. It's still the same one as, back when I was tweeting years ago. And, yeah, I don't even know what's going on. I'm completely out of the loop with Dave Rubin.
Yeah, well, I don't really keep up with him anymore, but I'm just saying, I just heard that recently about him endorsing Ron DeSantis for president. And, I'm not defending Donald Trump, but it makes a little more, it's less crazy. I will put it that way. It's less crazy to endorse Trump over DeSantis. DeSantis is more homophobic. Trump, I really don't think gives a shit.
And DeSantis is much more, competent in getting things done, and he's much more of a fascist. I'm scared. Like, DeSantis scares me. Trump, he's just funny. Like, he's just goofy. I'm not as scared of Trump. He's goofy.
He's Dr. Evil, whereas the other guy, DeSantis, is Mike Myers from Halloween. Ron DeSantis, Donald Trump is Dr. Evil from Austin Powers.
Yeah.
Which makes me think that Mike Pence might be number 2.
I love Austin Powers. That movie really just changed my life. That's what got me into the 60s and the classic rock stuff. Like, if it weren't for that movie, I wouldn't be me.
Question for you. You remember, this is just an aside, we'll get back to it. The movie, What's New Pussycat? You ever seen that movie?
I haven't seen it, but I've heard the name.
Okay, if you ever watched the movie, the Peter Sellers character, Dr. Fritz Fassbender, I am convinced that's where they got the character of Austin Powers from. That's the inspiration behind Austin Powers, the Peter Sellers character in What's New Pussycat. Just saying that as an aside.
Yeah, I definitely think aesthetically, his appearance is definitely based off of Peter Asher from the 60s, from Peter and Gordon. I'm just very convinced he's based on Peter Asher, appearance-wise.
I can see that too. Yeah, I can see that as well. Yeah, but I think if you ever watch New Pussycat, you see the character Dr. Fritz Fassbender, the Peter Sellers character, you'll be like, that's where they got the idea of Austin Powers from. Because I mean, he's like a sex-obsessed sex therapist and all of that in the movie.
I'll watch that.
Yeah. Getting back to the Florida fascists. I mean, as much as I hated George W. Bush and consider him the worst president ever, when 9/11 happened, he did make a half-ass effort, and it doesn't justify the war crimes he did, but he made a half-ass effort to say, this is not about Islam. This is about, supposedly the bad apples. I mean, he did kind of try to do a spin on it. This DeSantis guy, no, not at all. I mean, when he did the Don't Say Gay bill, it basically targets that community exclusively, and without even saying, we're not saying everybody's like that. It's like, no, we're going after them. That's basically what DeSantis decided to do. I mean, and I do kind of regard the LGBTQ community in America. If you want to call this the Weimar era in America, the LGBTQ are the new Jews.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like, there was that just brief period of time where, it was sort of okay to be gay. Very short period of time. And now it's going to get worse. And yeah, DeSantis scares me. The only thing that I think, there's no silver lining here, but it's much easier to call him out on his crap because it's just so blatant. Well, with other conservatives, I found it harder to call them out because, they'll always be like, oh, it's, hate the sin, not the sinner. And they'll try to sugarcoat things. And I'm like, it's so much harder to call those people out. But at least DeSantis, at least most people, anybody who's sane can see how evil he is. The sad part is America's full of insane people. It's just sad.
Absolutely. And it's not just Ron DeSantis. I mean, it's people like Marjorie.
It's a whole culture in the right. It's a whole culture.
Absolutely. Marjorie Taylor Greene and all these folks out there, they have actually normalized this kind of hatred again. And I thought this thing was coming to an end. I thought that maybe the Republican Party was going to be socially a little more libertarian leaning. They was going to still endorse the same insane economics, but I thought I thought they were going to start being more libertarian leaning. But here's what they do. They try to sound like libertarians until a certain point, and then they rip their mask off. I mean, like, for example, right now they sound a little bit anti-war. But as soon as DeSantis comes back in there, a Republican comes back into the White House, that neoconservatism is going to come back. He's basically George W. Bush with all the real and imagined scary things about Donald Trump without the comedy show.
Yeah, he has no charisma, and then he also, he's a sick person because didn't he witness, or didn't he actually torture people in Guantanamo? I can't remember if he witnessed or actually did torture people there.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he should be behind bars. All those people, all the people, in the Republicans, in the Democrats, these are all people who belong behind bars. But it's a big club, and they're never going to lock each other up. No, that's never going to happen.
He's a war criminal before becoming president. War criminals are not war criminals usually before they become president. This guy is already a war criminal before he's presumably sworn in, and a lot of people, not trying to make this all about DeSantis, but are you familiar with the Do Dissidents podcasts?
I've heard of them.
Yeah, actually, they got some people listening to them from Ireland, believe it or not, right now. But
it doesn't surprise me. Ireland definitely has quite a few left-leaning people, and we have left-leaning parties that do have representation in the Dáil, which is our parliament.
Well, Russell Dobler, who's one of the co-hosts of Do Distance, basically said that they're not going to allow Donald Trump back into the White House. That they'll do whatever it takes to make sure that Donald Trumps don't come back into the White House, and that they're in the tank for Ron DeSantis. So it is not a foregone conclusion that Donald Trump is going to be the nominee. So I'm
it's
scary.
like, I don't like the Democrats. They're not doing enough to defend the LGBT community. It's all just virtue signals. It's all just words, but no actions, nothing. They're not doing anything to defend, women's rights or women's healthcare or LGBT healthcare. They're doing nothing. They're doing jack shit. And, I'm glad that I've left the United States. I'm very lucky to. But, where I am, you're still on your own for healthcare. Like in Ireland, like people still think that, you have, Americans think that you have universal healthcare here, which no, we don't. We have a glorified version of the American system where you still need to have private healthcare. And, you have to wait a long time for any sorts of procedures. It's very sad. And then on top of that, here we have a really bad housing crisis where it's all over the country. It's not just in one part. No, it's everywhere.
Yeah,
there's people my age who are stuck living with their parents or in house shares, and that's why people in my generation can't start families.
Yeah, I was saddened to find out about Ireland's healthcare system. I think I found out about it before I met you, but and then I found out more about it from you. Yeah, that Ireland's healthcare system is just basically a glorified version of maybe better than Obamacare, but not.
Yeah, it's glorified Obamacare, basically. I was just shocked. When I moved here, I thought, oh, come on, they got to have something like an NHS. They absolutely do not have anything resembling the NHS. I mean, the NHS is, declining in quality and, stuff like that. But it's even worse here. Like, that's why I want to just, tell British people, if I could tell them anything, you need to fight to save your NHS.
Yeah, exactly.
And not only save it, improve it. It needs to be stronger. It absolutely does. Because, it's, if you don't have a healthy population, everything falls apart.
Exactly. And I just assumed that there would be something like an NHS or something like a single payer Medicare for all system like Canada or France or Sweden or something like that. But no, it's glorified.
Yeah, I've heard of there's proposals for Sláintecare. Sláinte is the Irish word for health. And it just sounds like Obamacare, but Irish. It's no better. It just sucks. Like, you're making everybody buy insurance. That doesn't improve anything. That just enriches a few people at the top, and that's exactly what happens here in Ireland. I was recently watching a video by a South African guy who was talking about, corruption over there, and I was like, oh yeah, this just sounds like what's going on in Ireland. What's going on in Ireland doesn't sound very different from what's going on in South Africa.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you got corruption everywhere. I mean,
everywhere.
You can't escape corruption and everything, and it just and I have become more cynical over the years. I have become more cynical over the years. Whenever I hear anybody talking and this is on a Washington level, I kind of roll my eyes even more now than ever. And I am convinced whatever you got to break up this two-party system here, and that's.
Oh yeah, like I won't vote in the United States. I mean, because in the U.S., you have to mail back your ballot, at your own expense. You have to pay for the postage. It's not like I can just go over to the consulate. If I could go over to the consulate and vote, whatever, okay, fine, I can do that. But no, I have to post the vote at my own expense. And then not only that, you have to jump through a bunch of hoops. It's almost like a Japanese game show trying to make sure your ballot counts, doing all these things. I was like, screw it. Why am I going to bother? I'm not voting because there's nothing worth voting for. And, these vote blue, no matter who, whiny, people on the left, they get mad at us for, saying, oh, you're helping the Republicans. I'm like, I'm not voting for them. How am I helping them? I'm not voting for them. I'm not voting for anyone. I'm just, sitting here being upset, I could do more and I could, get more involved.
You're not voting for them. You're not contributing the money to the Republicans. You're not doing anything that's going to be beneficial to either party. I don't get it. Yeah. Yeah,
and even more than that, I mean, I'm not a citizen here yet, so I think I will be soon, though. I did get approved for Irish citizenship, so I will be a citizen here soon. So finally, I can do maybe a bit more here. But, it's it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I've gotten some criticisms here for supporting Cornel West for the year 2024. The Cornel West.
He's the best option there is out there. Like when I watched that video of him announcing his campaign, I was like, yeah, this is what I was hoping Marianne would be. That's what I was hoping for.
Marianne Williams is okay, and he lacks in a couple of little areas policy-wise. Same thing with Robert Kennedy Jr. He lacks in a couple of little areas policy-wise, and all of that. they're both working inside the Democratic Party, which is a problem. And if they could do a dirty break, they would get some respect, they decided to say, the hell with it, we're going to do this independently. I think that since they're not going to do a primary, the Democratic Party, no official debates, they also take it to independent media. And
sounds Orwellian. Democratic Party, my ass. Orwellian as hell. Like, they're not. Like, so many political parties, they'll have something in their name, but then they're the complete opposite of it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like in the UK, since the days of Tony Blair, you got the Labour Party. They're not for the workers anymore.
Like, there's no one worth voting for in the UK. I mean, I just, it's sad, and they don't have a duopoly exactly. There are multiple parties, and
it's a little bit better.
All I'm hoping for with the UK, I will say this may be a hot take. I am hoping for a breakup of the UK. I am hoping for Ireland to become one. I'm hoping for Scotland to be independent, and I'm hoping for Wales to be independent. I would love to see that. I want to see the UK break up. I would be very happy to see that.
My prediction is that Ireland will be one again one day, but I think that England, Wales, and Scotland will remain together. That's my
Oh yeah, like the SNP sort of corruption stuff. I don't know too much about it. I just know there's a lot of corruption. Because Nicola Sturgeon just got arrested, and then her husband was arrested some weeks back. I don't remember, but God, all I know about this year is just no heroes politically. There's just none. Okay. Oh gosh, I lost my space, but I'll get back to it in a second. So that was Andy Moon. That was Andy Moon there, and. Again, I have her information down on the description box, as I do Thomas Salisbury from Tommy Nation Politics and Catherine Ann McCloskey. So just look them up. Do that. And my window just went away for the next person we're going to have up here. So let me get that person back. Okay. The next person we're going to have feature here is her name is Tina Phillips, and I knew her from a long time ago, and from the Socialist Party. So let me go ahead and find that video. Let's see, let me find it. Okay, I'm so sorry about that, folks, and give me 2 seconds here. Okay, all right. I hate it when I lose a window. I really do. All right. Okay. I found it. Well, what you know? Okay. That wasn't very long. Okay. Let me get that window. And this is Tina Phillips. I interviewed her actually this week. So so we'll play a little bit of that, and we'll get to it. Let me do this here. Okay. All right. Come on now. Okay. We shall get started right this moment, folks. It's Tina Phillips. Oh, give me a second here. I'm sorry. We're almost there. I was just trying to get back to where it was supposed to be. During the months of June, individuals from the LGBTQ community, and today our guest is Tina Phillips, and I've known Tina. How long we've known each other? A little over about 23 years, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you feel old, but yeah.
Well, you kept your age. I mean, you look exactly the same as you did when I first met you. Now I've gotten older, but
18 or so, maybe, yeah. I joined the SP when I was year 2000.
Yeah. But you look about the same. You have not aged one bit.
I'm 42.
Yeah, you look the same. That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
People say I have a baby face.
I mean, it's a good thing. I mean, you have a very youthful appearance. So, but Tina, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone here?
Okay, my name is Tina Phillips. I live in Oakland, California. I'm a social worker with a master's degree in social work. I work in the home health industry, so I'm a medical social worker. I visit patients and their families at home who are elderly, disabled, and help them with services and things like that, community resources, signing them up for programs that would be helpful to them. But a lot of my work is also social justice oriented, because I'm always trying to empower my patients and families and help them navigate the healthcare system, understand kind of what things are out there that they could take advantage of, because a lot of people don't have information about what could help them. So it's always like empowerment, education, informing people about their own healthcare and health decisions. So I love my job because of that.
Yes, and you definitely try to help people learning about things that they can qualify under in healthcare that they probably would not otherwise be aware of too, right?
It's like I run the gamut of letting them know about nonprofits, social services, some paid services, but if they're seniors, they qualify for certain things. If they're low income, they qualify for certain things. So a lot of people don't know that there's programs out there that can help you, basically.
Yeah, and I appreciate that that you do that, because there's probably one of my biggest issues, and we're both socialists, but one of my big issues to this day, and one area where I'm unyielding, is healthcare. I mean, healthcare is basically everything. You can't have healthcare for your population. I mean, you don't really have a proper functioning society. And I just don't understand how we could be in the 21st century here in America, be about 100 years behind many societies that said, healthcare for everybody is a good thing. So, it's one of my issues. But now, what I want to discuss is your life. You say who you are, your activism, and the situation in America with these culture wars, which kind of look like they were resolving itself a little bit for the better, but unfortunately, there seems to be a backlash back to the Reagan era when it comes to the intolerance against the LGBTQ community. So we like to touch upon that, and I'll let you take it away.
So part of what I also do is mental health care, and I always remind people, your brain is part of your body. So, wellness is something that I'm interested in. Also, mental health is a special interest. And also, oppressed groups are something that I've studied throughout my education, of all kinds of intersectional oppressed groups. And one of them is the queer community, of course. But, you have intersections of people of color, women, transgender people, non-binary people. So that's a lot of what's being targeted right now, is more the transgender, non-binary, non-conforming to gender type folks, because it makes our society anxious. Unfortunately, the brain kind of organizes things as a very simple information, and people want to just say you're a man or a woman, right? Our society is extremely binary. But people are not. People are complex, right? People have different sexualities, different genders, things are all mixed together. And so no two people are alike. And our society wants people to be more alike than they are. So it just makes it more simple information-wise to be like, oh, I understand you're a man or a woman. Now I know the pronouns to call you, right? We can't assume pronouns. We have to ask. Because everybody's different, and we can't know just based on how someone looks, how they identify, right? And in studying political science, I've understood this backlash thing, which is something that happens, throughout history. We make progress, right? And then there's a backlash to that progress, and we swing back to the other side. We see that very often with presidents, right? We've got a Democrat in office, and then a Republican comes in office, and the Democrat comes in office, and the Republican, we go swing back and forth, right? The society doesn't quite know where to place themselves. Part of the problem is generational, because you have the old generation who mostly white people, mostly more conservative people. I try not to be ageist, but you've got Gen Zers and you've got the baby boomers, and they seem to be at war with each other. The reality is we're at war with capitalists. We're at war with the rich, and yeah, the rich tend to be whiter, and there's a lot of straight heterosexual type. At least that's what we're told, is that's the ideal in society, to be straight, white, rich, a man. That's the power in this society, because we live in a sexist, patriarchal, racist, homophobic, transphobic society, unfortunately. We can have, all these great films, TV shows, celebrities who are LGBT, queer, and just celebrated. And at the same time, our society is regressive in some ways, and we can't forget about that. Just because people who are celebrities have money tend to be more accepted, but what about the marginalized folks? And so, the old guard is kind of dying out. I just feel like it's their last gasping breath to clutch onto power and say, hey, there's some people in society who are a little more weird. The word queer kind of denotes that, is that we're proud of being different, but other people are like, oh, different, that's weird. If I don't understand it, I'm scared of it, right? So that's a lot of what's happening. And then also people are like, oh, they're going after our kids, right? That's always the scare tactic. Or they're going after women, right? We've throughout history, marginalized groups we've been told that they are someone we should fear, right? African American men is one of the main ones that people think about when they think about a scary person. And now we're being told transgender people are scary people. One of the things that has been going on for a while is this whole bathroom thing of saying, if you're transgender, you can't use the bathroom that you prefer or that you feel the safest in, because we're afraid that that person's going to rape somebody or molest somebody. It doesn't actually make much sense. It doesn't happen that often, but they overblow it, right? Or they say drag queens are promoting, being transgender and having these laws that protect children so that they can have hormone blockers, or they can choose the bathroom at their school that they want to use, And we're preventing kids from being able to do that. That doesn't make sense. It's not good for mental health, because we've seen the research, when you don't support young people who are queer in affirming their gender identity and their sexual identity, they tend to do things like, suicides. So their mental health goes down the drain. We're seeing depression, record levels of anxiety, all this stuff, right? It's what is this about? People blame all kinds of things. They blame the internet, they blame this or that, right? But the reality is, we've got to point the fingers at ourselves, right? As a society and our parents and policymakers, it's very important that we're supporting young people and not wanting them to turn to things like drugs and alcohol or violence or self-harm. So if we want our children to live and have happy lives, we have to accept them, right? However they come to us. And that includes young adults. And, our society loves to discriminate and say, hey, we like the people who are like us, and the people that don't conform to how we are is some kind of out-group. And psychologically, we always want to pit against each other, saying that, well, this group's, we're better than other people. You see that with religions. Some religious people think they're better than other people. You see that in all kinds of different things, So, if we say that straight's the ideal, or that if you identify with the gender you were assigned at birth is the ideal, that's trying to say you happen to be in that category just by luck, You know, we're born the way we're born. We don't have a lot of choice in that. That's the other thing that people say, that we have a choice. You know, is it a choice to act on who we really are? I mean, we could oppress who we really are, but it's also not good for us psychologically. And I would argue it's not good for physical health as well. It stresses people out, right? It's stressful to be in a society that doesn't allow you to be yourself. So basically, you know, as a queer woman who's also poor, who's also fat, you know, who has a lot of pitfalls in this society that I just have to reject what's the dominant paradigm of society. I don't ascribe to capitalism being a good idea. I also don't like homophobia, transphobia, you know, fat phobia, sexism, patriarchy. I reject all those things, even though they're very kind of like the dominant paradigm right now. So we just keep trying to push against it. But as we see through social movements, they take time, right? There's no overnight anything, unfortunately. And we have to keep pushing for progress, even if it's a struggle, right? Right now, we're in a struggle. Some of us, literally for our own lives. I mean, you talked about healthcare. Healthcare should be a human right, because if you don't have healthcare, you could die. I mean, it's a life or death issue. And it can definitely bankrupt people, and people can not have access to basic care, and then whatever issue they have gets worse, right? We should have preventative care in this country that prevents people from getting so sick that they would die from something. But a lot of people are not protected, right? We just have a lot of, our safety net in America has eroded to a large degree. When I visit my patients, especially because of the cost of living going up, they're barely surviving, if not surviving. I'm having to give a lot more basic resources now about food, you know, how they can access cheaper prescription drugs, talking to much more people about low-income housing, because now people can't afford things because their rent went up, their gas went up, you know, everything. Food costs are insane. They've like doubled or tripled what they were before for a lot of people. And it's not like our income doubled or tripled, right?
Exactly.
So people are barely surviving, and then you're going to throw in things like transphobia and homophobia and racism and sexism and just throw all that in. And like, you know, don't give young people a reason to live. I mean, climate change already makes a lot of young people depressed and anxious and very nihilistic and hopeless about the future. And you're going to throw in wealth inequality and all these other isms on them. They're going to feel like, what is the point here, right? Because our young people are like more queer than any other generation has been. We could argue maybe it's because people were in the closet, who knows? But, you know, in terms of Gen Z, they're a lot more open, right? They're open to different things that other people were very closed about in the past. So, you know, whether it's, you know, an inborn thing or not, people are just at least more accepting of being themselves, which is a positive thing, right? But then we see this backlash, which is like they're passing laws that is going to constrict what we can do.
And there's more to this interview. As I said, if you go on my page, you'll see the interview with Tina, as well as the interview with Angie Thomas and Caddy Ann. So, and I mean, she packed a lot of information. And as I said, I've known Tina for 1999, 2000. Something along those lines there. So anyway, let me go and find yeah, right there. Okay. I almost lost the other window. I'm glad I didn't. Okay. So anyway, so the last person I interviewed, what was it? Yesterday was Thursday. It was day before yesterday. Day before yesterday, Thursday. And I've known Dwight. Dwight, I've known him since 1998, Socialist Party. And again, so Caddy Ann, Tina, and Dwight, I knew all from the Socialist Party, and he's also a very interesting person. Always a wealth of information. Just all around good guy. You probably can't find a better person around. As far as just he's a good person. And he, he's probably one of the most optimistic people you'll ever run across. And here's the interview with Dwight Welsh from the other day. Okay, let's do that. Let's see. Okay, hold on a second here. Come on. There we go. Let me do this. Okay. And what's very important about having you, hello? Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry. Okay. I'll call back. Yeah.
Yeah. What's very important about having you here, in particular, is that you being a gay man, you're also a minister.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I mean, and I'm old now because I went to the 25th anniversary of Stonewall back in '94 in New York. It was about within a year of coming out, but it was a nice experience going from Montana to New York City, seeing 1 million plus people at Pride. So yeah, no, exactly. The thing is that what was helpful is that there was both the campus ministry and some local churches that were really important to me as I was coming out in the early 90s. In particular, around 92, 93, there was a church called University Congregational that was going through their open and affirming process. And they were bringing in theologians and doing book studies and definitely trying to get an understanding on LGBT issues. And before they made a public commitment, which they did in 93. And so I was in college at that time. That was good timing for me. And that's how I ended up being in the United Church of Christ. Because this was the denomination that early on took on LGBT equality. And one of the things that's important to know is they came out with their first statement in support in 1967. The UCC actually had a theologian and minister who wrote a book in 1961 called Christ and the Homosexual. But as a denomination in 67, they put together a working paper that said, don't discriminate. Discrimination is bad, right? I mention all this because, I'll mention one other story, which was, I used to be a campus minister at the University of Kansas, and they had an interesting story. Right after Stonewall, there was an LGBT group that was trying to organize at the University of Kansas, and the university would not let them meet on campus. But the campus ministry was just a block away, right across from the football stadium, and the ecumenical campus ministry said, come hang out with us. So that's where the group organized. I mention that only to say that sometimes affirming churches are usually, sometimes there are folks on the left who assume that if you run into an affirming church, they were dragged kicking and screaming, that secular culture was way ahead of churches. But in fact, in some instances, and certainly in the UCC case, it was churches who were first, really at the gate line in terms of tackling this as an important issue. And though I suspect that much of Christianity, like much of the society, kind of, there are folks who are way ahead of the game. There are folks who are playing catch up, and then there are folks who forever will oppose LGBT equality. And obviously, those are the public voices that we hear today. Yeah. What's kind of important, you mentioned United Church of Christ, and a lot of people, it's one of the smaller mainline Protestant churches, but it's one of the most progressive, liberal of the mainline Protestant churches. But here's something that a lot of people would not be aware of.
about it, it traces itself strangely back to the Puritans.
Yeah.
Ironic.
Yeah, if you see the UCC is a union of the Congregationalists and the German Evangelical and Reformed, and so if you're, especially in New England and especially in the Northern Plains, if you see a church like, besides First Congregational, you might see a church like Mayflower Congregational, Pilgrim Congregational, Puritan Congregational. These are Mayflower. Yeah, these are all indications of the history that goes back to the 1600s. It's an interesting. There's a whole side story of how they ended up becoming the most liberal church. Though obviously there's a lot of churches that claim that, including the Unitarians, who are split off from the Congregationalists, right? I think oddly enough, in Calvinism, there's this trust in the natural world as a good place, as a reflection of God's purposes, and a trust in science to get us good information about the world. And once you have those two components in play, even you can find liberalizing tendencies, at least from the 1700s onwards, where you can see why Puritanism was going to end up playing the role that it did in progressive struggles. Initially, obviously you see it with abolitionism.
Go ahead.
You can say, because abolitionism was not, today it's treated as just a given, obviously, that slavery is bad. But the pro-slavery side had Bible passages on their side, right? Because there are passages in the Bible that are pretty clear about you can enslave this group and enslave that group. What the abolitionists had to do was to talk about the spirit of the Bible, right? Where's the Bible going? And where the Bible is going is increasing levels of freedom and liberation, and the spirit of Jesus and the spirit of how the Bible unfolds. So the abolitionists had a tougher biblical case than the pro-slavery folks. It just so happened to be they were on the right side morally. that helps. The other thing that helps is and this is what happened on the LGBT front, is that once folks who were being oppressed were able to articulate their own oppression and respond to it and be heard, that shakes up everything. And a lot of oppressive forms of religion do everything they can to make sure that certain voices just simply isn't heard. Women, LGBT, people of color, lots of different ways of being that don't fit the paradigm of these conservative religious groups, and getting their voices out always been the key.
Yeah. Now, this is a fictitious program, so it's just kind of like a creative license that they're using, but you're familiar with the TV show Dark Shadows, right? From the 1960s. Yes, Barnabas Collins' Dark Shadows. There was a part of Dark Shadows, this connection to the church, and then we'll get back to the subject at hand. Just kind of a little trivia for you. Do you remember the time period when Victoria Winters in a seance went back into the year 1795, and then they thought she was a witch. The Reverend Trask, there was a character named Reverend Trask, who was a fanatic in Collinsport at that time, and who yielded a lot of political influence in the community. And he hated Victoria Winters, who came out of nowhere, and he tried to frame her for witchcraft. Well, they don't specify, but I think that they were trying to make it. He was like some kind of Congregationalist minister, and I think like the Congregationalists, I think that most Congregationalist churches kind of evolved into what is now United Church of Christ. But I think that was what they were trying to insinuate in the TV series. Maybe I'm thinking too much about that.
Well, if it was New England, then that would be the case. I mean, if you want to think the separation of church and state, you'll notice people who oppose the separation of church and state will often appeal to the fact that the New England colonies had state churches, and they did. The 14th Amendment does away with that, right? Because the laws of the federal Constitution are also required to be upheld by the states under the 14th Amendment. But really, the state churches started falling apart. They were called the Standing Order churches. And they fell apart in the 1820s. And that was because, the Unitarian Congregationalists split. In places like Massachusetts, Vermont, and other places, the way the Standing Order worked, everybody in the community kind of owned that church. It was like a people's church, right? Including people who didn't attend. And there were folks who were in the church who didn't like the idea that their neighbor who never showed up to church actually had a right to help call the minister and determine policies of the church. But that's what happens when you create a public church, right? It's owned by everybody. And so in some measure, once the Unitarians and Congregationalists started fighting with each other at that period, it was over those sets of issues, and the Standing Order essentially dissolves. The local churches are basically become governed by the people who participate in those churches. And that's free association of religion, right? But that's separation of church and state, which is a good thing. I can't say it's good for every congregation, but what it does do is it's supposed to remove the ability of the whole community to micromanage what a given religious congregation does. And it should be loved by everybody, including the most conservative Christians. But I think they think they've got political power now, right?
Yes.
I mean, if you want to, this is a broad statement to make, but it's like Christianity never looks good when we get political power, and neither does Islam, and neither does Hinduism, or Judaism. Like, religion does really well when it's a pluralistic society. We all have to kind of play our part in the community. The moment one group gets in charge, it's bad, right? And a lot of the things that you're seeing that people are really scared about Christian nationalism is because they've got some political power, and they're using it against the wider community, and that's the problem. But
Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's proud to call herself a Christian nationalist. Oh my gosh!
Yeah, the funny thing is when they appeal to that, and they'll appeal to the Standing Order, you're like, well, you don't want the Congregationalists to be running things, because if you did, we'd mandate gay marriage for every church.
Okay, yeah, what's interesting?
We don't want that. Yeah.
I'll tell you what's interesting. As a civil libertarian, I was very glad about the passage of the Respect for Marriage Act, because that legislation was bipartisan. It was one of the few times where Democrats and Republicans got together and molded legislation that actually made sense. I mean, and both Democrats and Republicans actually put their input into legislation that kind of protected. Yes, it was meant to protect the LGBTQ community and their right to marital equality, and that is the most important part. But it also, I would say that even though I would disagree with the social conservatives in their opposition to it, but it also protects their right in their little corner if their churches don't want to have their marriage. And honestly, in those churches, I don't think LGBTQ people are going to be going to those churches anyway. They'll find another church to go to. So, but they kind of worked something out, and I was surprised to find out that the Latter Days Church of the Mormons actually ended up supporting a legislation that was LGBTQ affirming with this.
No, it's been interesting. There's a little tension between the LDS and the wider evangelical community. There was in terms of doctrine, but now it's playing itself out in the one thing that actually matters, which is social, which is social policy, right? And seeing the LDS kind of split from the wider evangelical movement is interesting, because in the 90s there had been this kind of attempt to get the far right Catholics, LDS, and evangelicals and Jewish people all on the same page. Create a united ecumenical and interfaith front against liberalism, and in some measure that, I mean, it certainly has politically potent power. But it was intriguing to me that Ron DeSantis, when interviewed and asked about his Catholicism, was on the Christian Broadcasting Network, was nervous to do so. He was afraid to claim his Catholicism. So I think that union is less strong than people imagine between the LDS, evangelicals, Catholics. And now, it is a weird thing to point out that in some of these mega churches that don't accept LGBT people, that some of them are seeker friendly, such that they won't talk about it much. And so, in fact, there are LGBT folks who do show up to those churches, and they get a little bit shocked when they are just told later on that, they can't have, they can't be recognized, or they. I knew a lesbian couple in Oklahoma who was involved in church for years, and nobody ever told them that this was forbidden in that church. And they wanted to teach Sunday school, and they were like, well, you can't teach Sunday school because, you're lesbian. But they had poured years of their life and money and resources into this church, and without any awareness. So I kind of feel like some of those churches are being a bit sleazy. Like, tell me that you oppose me or tell me that you support me, but don't be playing a game, a bait and switch.
Right? Yeah, take a stand one way or the other, in other words. Yes.
Yeah, because otherwise you just get a lot of people who are hurt because they don't know, and they're not clear. And there's a group called clarity.org that tries to tease out, these are the mega churches. They're not necessarily the same as some of the Christian nationalist patriot churches that we've been seeing in the last few years. But these are the seeker-friendly, kind of places that build on their accessibility. But, I always ask churches, like, can I get married in that church as an openly gay man? Can I serve in any office? Can I hold my husband's hand at church? Will we be counted as a couple when they put up the church directory? And lastly, but important, and I give this to the mainline church too, given 500 pieces of legislation against trans people this year in state legislatures across the country, will you speak out? Will you put yourself in a visible way in support of LGBT folks, and in particular trans people, because because it's so important, and because I think there's some churches that don't want to get too connected or put themselves out there, but really it's really needed.
Okay, and that's Dwight Welch, and again, that was from Thursday evening, and there's more on that interview. I know he talked a lot about church, but he is a minister, so and so he's connected as a gay man and as a progressive Christian and as a mainline Protestant minister. He kind of has it all connected. So as you can see there, but suffice to say, these are the folks I interviewed this past month for Pride Month, and I was was glad I was able to have a productive conversation to get their perspectives on their feels about the modern atmosphere in the year 2023, and where America is headed as a society in terms of the culture war that need not exist. So, and as I said, I decided to kind of consolidate some clips, as you can see here, to the Saturday night stream that I like to do for KRTD Media. If there was a poor sound quality, I will explain that, the audio quality. Because I have StreamYards and KRTD Media has StreamYards, it's done from two separate computers. And the newer computer, which I do on for Saturday night stream, for some reason, the audio is down. So I'm just basically using the audio from my other computer where I do my other streams. And use that, and hopefully the sound was decent enough. I'm hoping it is anyway. So anyway, that's pretty much sums it up. And we have here on the chat line, we have Snipe Hunter. Hi. And I was asking about, oh yeah, greetings and salutations. Good. Let's see here. All right. Let's see. And we have Warren. Hey, Warren. Looking forward to being on the Secret Show in a short while. Let's see. Hey, y'all. Woohoo. Hello, Warren, says Snipe Hunter. Sounds good. Yep. And Miguel. Hey, how are you doing? I see you on all the chat lines, Miguel. Let's see here. Yeah, hey, Snipe Hunter and Miguel. And let's see, everybody's saying kind of hi to each other back. That's what I like about these streams, where everybody's really chill, and everybody's like, hey, how are you doing? How are you doing? That kind of gives it a kind of a good, friendly vibe sort of thing. That's a good thing. And Kim says, hi, Miguel, Extra Bulla, and Snipe Hunter. And Miguel says hi, and so did Snipe Hunter. And Kim referred to, I'm guessing, the Jesus comment about him dying. And just, we're all talking about that. And yes, that is correct. Snipe Hunter, Billy Graham was part of the inauguration in 1993, and Jerry Falwell and Pat Robertson were having a conniption over it. I remember that shit. Catty Ann, hey, what's up? Thank you for the compliment about the good show. Yeah, you were. I don't know if you were here earlier on, but you were the first person featured tonight. I did it in chronological order. Let's see here. We have, oh yes, Snipe Hunter again. Jimmy, hey, how are you doing today? And looking forward to seeing you and Warren in a little while. Let's see here. Great show, Willie. Seeing you at midnight. Yes, likewise. Okay, and Snipe Hunter says, hi, Jimmy, and everybody's saying hi. And hi, Anthony Malecki, how are you doing? And let's see, that looks like, unless somebody else says hi, I guess I'll display their greetings too on the chat line. So this is my gift to KRTD Media in solidarity of Pride Month. So they can say that something was done for Pride Month because it is in standing with their policy and their vision of progressive politics and human rights and all of that, and human dignity and just what it takes to have a good society. So some announcements. Okay, yeah, let's see. Yes. Oh yes, something I've been promising Jimmy I'm going to do. Jimmy is trying to get up to 100 followers on Twitch, and her contact, she does some of the graphics here for my show, and she does a great job. Thank you, Jimmy. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Great work. She needs 100 followers for for Twitch, and I presume for also for YouTube as well. So all her information is down below on the description box, and she would appreciate that and all that. And let's see, the announcement again. I'm going to be on Extra Booyah. It's going to be on at midnight, so just drop on by over there. In fact, when I get offline, I might actually put down the link on the description box below. So there too. So also I'm also going to be on June the 27th. I think that's on a Tuesday. Or is it June 28th, 27th? Let's see. Yeah, I think it's the 27th. Yeah, June 27th. I'm going to be on the JB Font Show with Jane Fauntleroy, who's one of the co-hosts of RBN. I'm going to be there at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as a guest, so I'm looking forward to that. And so, and on Thursday, Jimmy and I are going to be co-hosting, I believe, around 8 p.m. Unless there's a change of plans. I think we agree that we usually do this on a Sunday, but Sundays is just kind of touch and go for me right now. So we're going to do this, I'm presuming, around 8 p.m. and I'm going to find this out later on to make it official and everything. So we'll be doing what we normally do and all of that. So any other announcements that comes to mind right now? I'm trying to think. Okay. There is, I guess there will be another stream I can do this on and all that. So anyway, be sure to support social media, folks. Support KRTD Media. Support all independent media in general. If you like what you heard, please press like and comment. Comment any ways you disagree with what I have to say. Let's see. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it, because we are, in fact, the muckrakers of our time. Reject corporate media. Subscribe and hit the notification bell here on YouTube for the Willy Bragg Show. Follow and do the same for Facebook and Twitter and Twitch and Rumble, which I will find a way to utilize that eventually. And also do the same for KRTD Media. Follow them on YouTube and Twitch, Facebook, and remember that we need to do what we can to rescue the narrative from corporate media, because corporate media has absolutely nothing at all to offer us. Since when have they ever had anything to offer us? So there you have it. Let's see here. Yes. Yes. Rockstar Willie single-handedly holding down KRTD. I try to do my best. Let's see here. I'll start streaming again when I hit 100. Grass can kiss my ass after that. Okay. Oh, yeah. I work graveyard shifts, so I am forced to hire somebody to do the grass. There's no way I can work graveyard shift. It's a large yard. So, yeah, I just, it's all I can do to work graveyard shift and barely have energy a lot of the times. So, anyway, I will be back here on Saturday night. Who knows what I'm going to be talking about by then? But, thank you all for everybody that's been helping me with this program. I'm starting to get a little bit of a bounce on my sub count and everything, and it's been a long ride, 3.5 years and all that. But I have to go keep the faith, and hopefully, eventually, I will have 3 million subscribers. So anyway, let's see, one more here, and I'm going to sign off. Let's see. I saw the whole show. I need to go to bed. Church in the morning. Good night, all. Said Catty Ann McCloskey Ross. Good night, Catty Ann. All the best. Let's see. We love you, Willie. We love you too, Anthony. So anyway, folks, I am going to close right now. Well, let me go put a positive plug for Ken Arroyo, who's in a band called Smeghead. He does the music for this show, and I listened to his music and kind of like what I heard, and it's in standing with the, even as from today's, in standing with the kind of post-punk new wave music I grew up listening to, still listen to it to this day. I would never outgrow this. I'm culturally stuck in the year 1986 for the rest of my life, I think. But anyhow, I was like, I like this song. I think that I'm going to have this as music for my show. So give it a listen and do support Ken Arroyo. He's going to come on my show in the near future. He just got married. He's trying to get acclimated. He's moved to Canada, so he's trying to get everything set first over there, and then he's going to come on my show. So until next time, folks, see you later. Bye-bye.